and a big welcome back to the channel. You're probably watching because you're planning a trip to the EU and wondering whether you need to do anything special about a SIM card. Well, if you're travelling for more than a couple of weeks, then you definitely do. Watch on to find out the best options. So I'm going to delve straight into the first option, which is in many ways the easiest. If you already have a SIM card in your phone, you're a Brit or you're from the States or anywhere in Europe, use your existing provider. This can work really well, particularly if you're coming to Europe for a shorter amount of time. But there are some drawbacks. The biggest drawback to using your existing provider is that the vast majority of them now charge you an extra amount of money to use your data outside of your home country. And this is particularly difficult for us Brits because of Brexit. Previously, we could use our data wherever we liked. No longer, unfortunately. You can be charged anywhere upwards of £2.50 a day to use that data. The only provider in the UK that doesn't charge is Tesco Mobile, and I would highly recommend them. I'm not sure about in the US. My research tells me that almost all of them will charge you to use your data in Europe. The other real kicker is that they all have a fair usage policy, which limits the amount of data that you can use. So even if you have 100 gigabytes to spare in the UK, you'll get 25 or maybe even 12 in Europe, depending on who you use. But that's not the only thing about the fair usage policy. Written deeply in the small print is something that says if you become what they deem a permanent traveller, they will cut you off. And that means that if you travel for more than 2 months in every 4, and they notice that you're using your data in the EU, outside of your home country, they consider that you're not any longer roaming like at home, you're actually a permanent traveller. And they don't want that. So that is the biggest drawback of using your own data, your own existing provider when you travel to the EU. So my 2 top tips if you're going to use your existing provider when you travel in Europe is set a spending cap so you don't get caught out, and secondly, check your contract, because some people on legacy contracts, us Brits, on legacy contracts pre-Brexit, you might not have to pay that daily fee. Check before you upgrade, because if you upgrade you will lose that privilege. Top 2 tips, remember those. So option 2 has actually rapidly become one of our favourites because of the sheer convenience of it. eSIMs are virtual SIM cards. They work in conjunction with a physical SIM in your phone, and newer phones post 2018 will take an eSIM. So you don't need a separate eSIM slot. You can leave your existing eSIM in place, which means you've still got your number there. People can still contact you in the usual ways, but you have this virtual SIM that you can set up on your phone ready for when you arrive in a new country, so you don't have the faff of having to stop and buy a local SIM. I mean, we travel in a huge overland truck, and sometimes being able to get to those shops is actually really inconvenient. You can buy an eSIM that's specific to the country you're travelling in, but you can buy regional ones as well. In fact, you can even get global eSIMs, and the regional ones are brilliant for Europe because they cover all of the EU countries, and you can just cross the borders without even having to worry about getting another SIM card. Most of them come through an app now, so you can monitor your data usage, you know where you're at with that eSIM, and you can top it up within the app as well. So you don't have to faff about buying a new one, you just add more data to it. eSIMs usually connect to the best available network, so the chances are you're probably going to be able to get a signal wherever you are. The biggest drawbacks with eSIMs are that they are more expensive than buying a local SIM, and they may well be more expensive than using your existing data as well. You're paying really here for convenience. You do need an internet connection, so you can't actually physically buy one online unless you can get online. So it's better to organise before you lose that connectivity if you possibly can. They used to, eSIMs, until about a year ago, you used to have this awkward thing of a QR code being sent to you, and you needed a secondary device to be able to read that. But now if you buy an eSIM through the app of the company that you choose, your phone will automatically recognise it, and actually implementing them is relatively straightforward. We recommend Aerolo and Holofly because we've used them. They both offer different things. So Aerolo offers generally a different amount of data for up to usually a month or 3 months at a time. Holofly offers unlimited data, but sometimes you are unable to tether. So if you're hoping to work from a laptop, Holofly might not be the best option for you. We'll put links in the description so that you can check them out. You don't get a phone number, so you probably want to use WhatsApp. for texts and calls. And the other thing you might want to think about as well is moving any two-factor authentication you have across from being linked to your number to using an authenticator app. That just makes using an eSIM a lot easier if you use that process for banking and so on. We like them, we recommend them, and that's why it's our second option really, and our go-to. So the third option is the good old-fashioned local SIM, and we did this for years before eSIMs became really popular, and it works well if you're travelling outside of the EU countries. So usually when you're buying an eSIM or you're using your using your own existing data, you'll be limited to the EU. The countries outside of the EU, some of the Balkans countries like Montenegro and Albania, or even if you're going a bit further afield to places like Turkey and Morocco, they definitely won't be recognised by your existing provider. So a local SIM is the way to go. And actually, if you're travelling in a car or you're arriving at an airport, they're relatively easy and convenient. Not always so much if you're in a motorhome or like us in a big overland truck, because you've got to get to that place to actually set up that physical SIM. So most countries, you go into the shop, you need to take a passport. Quite often you can only pay with cash, and you'll actually get a physical SIM, which you might pay €1 or €2 for, and then you load that SIM with data, and they'll do that for you in the shop. We always take our phones with us just to make sure that it's worked, because there has been the odd occasion where you've gone in and you've either got a duff or you've been maybe scammed. I don't like to say that, but it does happen. So that's a top tip. Take your phone with you to the shop, let them set it up for you, make sure it works before you leave. Local SIMs usually come with a phone number as well, so that's handy if you like to make a lot of calls. Your device does need to be unlocked because you have to take your own SIM out. And this is where things like using WhatsApp and two-factor authentication come in really handy, because they work using data, not traditional telephone signals. They're the cheapest method. We've gone from, well, when we were in Montenegro, we had 1 terabyte of data for about €15. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of data that we could never use, but quite often you can buy an unlimited data SIM card as now, an unlimited data SIM card that will be valid for 30 days. So it's a really good option. Some providers have apps, but quite often they're geo-locked, particularly if you're outside of of Europe. So you have to use the old-fashioned star number to actually get your balance of how much data you've got left. And then you buy a voucher from a supermarket or from one of their outlets, and you scrape off the number, and that's what you put into your phone to top up. It feels really old-fashioned to us Brits, and probably to most people from first world countries, but some of these countries, they just don't have that infrastructure yet. But it works, and it's relatively simple. And often operators have a lot of outlets in places like supermarkets and news agents all over the country. So getting data is not really difficult. As I said, there is the downside. Unless you have a dual SIM phone, you will have to take your own SIM card out. Put it somewhere safe, label it so you don't forget, and then you can just pop it back in again when you're on the way home. So a local SIM, it's a great way to meet local people as well, and it's interesting. You can get out and see what's happening in the local town when you go and buy that SIM. So it's another great option. So the fourth option, if you like to be organised, is to order a physical SIM card online. That means that it will arrive before you actually go on holiday. You can have it ready to pop into your phone when you arrive. It's prepaid, so there are no surprises. They're never going to be able to charge you more than you've paid at the initial point of purchase. The downside with this is that you, again, have to remove your own SIM card from the phone. That's when you need to swap over to using WhatsApp for calls and two-factor authentication for your banking or whatever, because you'll lose your existing number. You won't lose it. When you put your SIM card back in, it will come back. But for the period of time when you have to replace it with a physical sort of holiday SIM card, if you like, that you're buying online, you are going to lose your existing number. It is becoming harder to find these sorts of providers. So Orange Holiday used to be a good option, but they seem to be moving almost entirely to eSIM cards now. But there are a couple of providers that I just want to pick out. Poppit and Tcom. They're one's in the UK, one's in Europe. They have good offers on monthly rolling plans where you can buy quite big amounts of data for 30 months at a time, and then it just rolls over to another 30 months. But you can cancel it at any time. There's no contract, so you're not tied into anything. There are still limits on those though, so Pop It will only allow you to roam outside of the UK for 6 months at a time before you have to go back and use that SIM card, physical SIM card, in the UK. So read the small print before you decide to go down this route. And the final SIM card option to use in the UK is not actually a SIM card, it's a portable Wi-Fi device. You can buy these preloaded. They use cloud technology, whatever that means. So they don't have a SIM card in them, but they provide the same purpose as a SIM card. They give you data. They're usually big enough that you can put them in your pocket and you can move around with them and connect your phone to them. They do need to be charged, so you need to be somewhere you can charge them every night, I suppose. It means you can keep your number, so your phone and your SIM card in your phone are still active, but you're using this device almost like a Wi-Fi access point. There are generally no caps about how much you can use or how long you can use it for, and you pay up front on a rolling monthly contract, so you can leave that contract at any time. You can tether more than one device, so they will work with a phone and, say, a laptop if you're traveling as a digital nomad. But you do have to remember to take it with you. And we've had one of these devices and left the truck and gone off for the day, and then realised when it's too late to go back and fetch it that we haven't actually picked it up. So you just got to get into the habit of remembering to take it with you. We use a company called Connect Plus, and if you use our code TheGapDecaders, you'll get at checkout, you'll get 30% off your first month. So you can check it out and see if you like it. We think it's another good option, and it's a great backup for us. And you might feel the same, so definitely check out those portable Wi-Fi devices. And that's the end of my video. So I've given you all this knowledge about what to use when you're in the EU. If you want to look further, we do have a website, and you can get some more detail about the particular providers and what they offer there. I'll put a link in the comments so that you can link into that and have a look. But thank you for watching, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, give us a like, click that bell notification, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.